The Traditions at the Glen Hotel and Spa wouldn't be what it is today without George F. Johnson's least favorite executive and the vision of one of the area's most ambitious businessmen. That's what Fox 40's Amy Hogan found out on this month's Legacy Landmarks.
Guest services.
Before it was a hotel, even before it was the IBM Homestead, the mansion at Traditions at the Glen was home to an employee of another influential company.
He was an interesting person. He was treasurer of Endicott Johnson. And he and George F. did not get along.
Elliot Spaulding came from old money, something the self-made George F. Johnson was a little bitter about. That and Spaulding's conservative leanings.
They just clashed on many levels.
When Spaulding built his mansion in 1918, Johnson had much to say on the matter.
Johnson thought it was ostentatious. And he also thought that Mr. Spaulding was a spendthrift because he had 2 governesses for his one child.
Elizabeth Rosa Lee. Whether or not Johnson approved, she was the center of Spaulding's universe. He had her in mind while building his mansion. He would name the estate Rose Hill after his daughter.
And all that history is literally embedded in the brick and mortar of the building.
If you actually look at this one right here, you can see the stamp on it that says the Binghamton Paving Company.
That together would form a foundation that would long outlast the Spauldings. The family sold the mansion to the Kalura Shriners in 1925, who used it as a clubhouse before selling it to IBM in 1935. The company saw it as the perfect location for training and networking. They called it the Homestead.
The Homestead was called that because they wanted to make people feel at home when they came here.
Employees and customers alike.
So not only was it a place where sales executives and managers would come here to learn the latest technology, but they would also invite different customers in. That way they were able to make that connection and that bond, which in return would help increase their sales.
CEO Thomas Watson would hang his hat by the door and mingle with his customers. The man behind IBM spent a lot of nights here. It's now called the Thomas J. Watson Suite, named in his honor. And it wasn't just Watson. He would entertain famous guests like Eleanor Roosevelt and Bing Crosby. The room where Dwight D. Eisenhower stayed before he was president is also named for its famous occupant.
That's actually the picture of what it would have looked like when he stayed in here.
Those were the guests that stayed inside the mansion. Plenty more slept on the lawn.
They would have 500 to 700 two-man tents set up on the hillside.
Known as Tent City or the 100%ers Club, a by-invitation-only celebration for IBM sales associates who met 100% of their sales goals.
Oh, they had a huge tent where they had their IBM pep rallies, and they sang songs like Hail to Watson and Ever Onward IBM.
In the 90s, things were changing for IBM. Locally, the company became more focused on tech support. Manufacturing was moved to bigger cities across the country. There was no longer a need for the training ground at the Homestead. The doors were shut in 1995. Traditions was formed in 2004 when the mansion was renovated and preserved after sitting vacant for nearly a decade. 100 years since Spaulding built his mansion, and the history is very much alive.
Original molding on the fireplace, original tiles underneath.
And guests, whether their stays were short or long, have left their marks here. In Johnson City, for Fox 40 News at 10, I'm Amy Hogan.